Okay, we're live.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I understand that Commissioner Lyman Torres is going to share some really exciting information with us about a wonderful option that we're going to be engaging very soon. So, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, President Scott and Council. I am very pleased to be with you today. But I'm going to start by introducing the team because they are really the masterminds behind this wonderful initiative that they're bringing before you for your consideration. So I'll go through and kind of introduce the team that's here. We've got our presenters, our main presenters who are here today: Virginia, Maya, Patrick, and Asada. So they may tell a little bit more about what they do when they get on deck here. But they are members of the Urban Ecologist program and the YVOV program, and they are going to talk with you today. I also have our support staff to that group. We have Sarah Scott, who's our director of Recreation and Park Stewardship, and Stephanie Benway, who is our environmental education specialist, and of course, Tremaine Harris, the one and only, who leads our YVOV troop through all that they do. So without further ado, we'll launch into talking to you about our children connecting children to nature initiative. Sarah, if you want to go ahead and cue that up. We can kind of share our slides with you a bit. So we have we have a nice logo there that you can see where we've really kind of put a lot of emphasis into making it a planned and deliberate effort to connect children with nature. And this is, something that the youth have spent a lot of time with doing research about what it means to have an increasingly indoor lifestyle and what that has done to youth and the screen time and the things that they have been doing that have really changed both emotional and physical health and well-being, and really wanting to get the benefits of spending regular time outdoors. And so that's a big piece of what they've been working on. Next slide. So just very specifically, before I turn it over to the presenters, the Connecting Children to Nature initiative is something that the city of Rochester was selected by National League of Cities and the Children in Nature Network in 2018. We were selected to be one of 18 cities in the country to have to receive technical assistance and support with developing a robust and real initiative to connect children to nature. Unfortunately, we were selected because of our poor outcomes, because we didn't rate well with the indicators around the ability to connect our city's children to nature, whether that be through structured programming or just outside to play. I'm sure you've heard a lot of that from Common Ground Health over the years and their Healthy Kids initiative, and that's true, and that's kind of come to fruition. But what we've done is we've taken an approach to change that, to create strategies around increasing environmental programming. We hope to come back to you another time and talk about our plans around a nature center in Maplewood. But today we're here to talk to you about a policy change that we'd like to have you consider, which is the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to the team who's going to share a brief video with you.
So the video that I'm going to share now was created by the YVOV and Urban Ecologist team.
I can't hear it.
Yeah, Sarah, I think you have to connect to audio in Zoom.
Sorry, I did that prior to starting this. I apologize. We'll do that again.
Zoom lessons.
Commissioner gave me that lesson earlier.
One vision. We want to talk to you about nature.
Did you know kids today only spend 47 minutes a day outside and over 7 hours in front of a screen? Kids today have become more attached to their screen and removed from their natural environment. Spending time outside has tons of benefits.
Spending time in nature reduces stress, anxiety, and promotes positive moods. And with more interaction with people, can build social skills.
A lack of physical activity has led to serious health problems for too many children, putting them at risk for chronic disease. Going outside helps build patterns of physical activity and makes kids healthier.
Nature makes kids smarter. Study shows when kids learn and play in natural environments, we see improved performance in things like reading, math, science, and social studies.
Time spent in nature encourages people to care about the living world around them more. That's why it's important to expose kids to nature at early ages, because the experiences when we are young are the single biggest factors affecting our attitudes towards nature as adults.
So what are we going to do about it? We're going to make sure that all kids have a chance to get outside and explore a clean and healthy environment. We are creating a Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights.
A Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights is a list of activities that all youth should have the opportunity to participate in. We're making this list because we want kids and parents to know how important it is to get outside and connect to nature. We're hoping to use this list to break down barriers to nature for the children in Rochester.
Nature to me is drinking a cold glass of lemonade on a hot summer day.
Nature is riding your bike through the city.
Nature is calming.
Nature is picnics in a park. Thanks for watching and sharing your input with us. To learn more and get involved, click the link below.
All
right.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Patrick.
Sorry to cut you off there. So for our who, we'd like to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Me and Asada, we are part of YVOV, or Asada's a part of YVOV Plus now, and she'll speak on that a little bit later. But YVOV is the Youth Mayor Advisory Council, and we work with children in the rec centers. We work with planning different events for those children, and kind of bringing youth up and being able to give them an opportunity to express themselves and voice their opinions and what they want to change in our communities. And we do this. We have every month we would have a executive committee meeting and share out things. So the youth would come and share out what they're doing in the rec centers to help make our community stronger. And we put on several different events to help bring the community closer and lift up youth voices. Asada, if you'd like to talk on YVOV Plus.
Hello, excuse me. Yes, I'm Asada Evans. Recently graduated from YVOV, a new member of YVOV Plus, which is an initiative that Speedy or Mr. Harris has thought about for a while now, which I'm fortunate enough to be a part of the first rollout. This is actually one of our first projects as a group. Many of the 2020 graduates and some people that graduated before have been invited to be a part of this initiative, give input, and be a part of the initiative and give input. Like I said, this is one of our first focuses. So lately we've been finalizing what the actual YVOV Plus program will look like for the future. And
Hi, I'm Maya Waller. I am a senior urban ecologist in the urban ecology program, which is a workforce development internship job that's a partnership between the city of Rochester and the Seneca Park Zoo Society. So I've been in this program for 2 years now, and we do a lot of community engagement around stewardship of the environment and gardening. We have worked in rec centers with youth and getting them engaged in the natural world, and not just in it, but learning about it. We've participated in sustainability trainings and practices And so this is really, for us, is really important because so much of the work that we do is centered on children and making Rochester a place where all children can learn from and benefit from and enjoy the natural environment. So, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Virginia. I'm also a senior ecologist with Maya, and basically our COBOR will be like a list of activities that will be focusing on youth and things that they would like to do out in nature, and just things that they should have access to as they're growing.
We'd like to talk about why they chose YVOV and the urban ecologists to work together. YVOV, we always want to be uplifting youth voices, and youth are one of the groups that are most impacted by not having these access to nature that they should. And of course, it is a children's outdoor bill of rights. It would be kind of foolish to not include youth's perspective on this, since it's going to be impacting them the most. And this is what kind of urban ecologists and YVOV, we want to be able to help them the best we can and make sure that everybody has these opportunities to do things that are so important to their development.
So to start this journey with each other, the urban ecologists and the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, just for a little context, we had no clue of each other. We didn't know who our counterparts were. So with Miss Stephanie and Mr. Harris and Mr. Whitmire, they all were chaperones on our first kind of team building retreat, and that is the nature retreat. That's the first bullet there. We I don't exactly remember where it was. I'm sorry, but we went out to a trail. We got very connected to nature on a very snowy day, and usually the snow would bother me, but the fun outweighed the our little Rochester weather. So we played capture the flag. We were given knowledge on how to start fires if you were to be in a predicament where you were in the woods in the snow by yourself somehow in Rochester. Multiple team building activities. I don't know if anyone else will want to speak to their personal experience. I feel like having that initial contact in a fun setting prior to meeting in a more productive setting made me more comfortable in the space, and also like rose my passions up for it because I was actually having fun. And this is something that would be experienced if this was to become our outdoor bill of rights. Yeah.
So we, as two separate groups, met for the first time actually a little bit before this retreat. And so this was last January or February, so a little over a year ago. And we met and were introduced to the idea of a children's outdoor bill of rights. Most of us I'd had a few conversations about it, but this was really the time where we looked at what an outdoor bill of rights looks like. And so actually on this slide, there's an example, and we looked at different examples from different cities or across the country and how they were implementing it and what activities they were associating with it. And so that's where we learned and then also brainstormed on how this could be implemented in Rochester. And then we continued our teamwork and went on a bonding nature retreat, which then, Patrick, do you want to talk about the next step?
Yeah, so but just based on when we were looking at other different cities with versions of a nature bill of rights, I was really, why hasn't Rochester implemented this already? It seems like it'd be perfect. We have a lot of really nice natural activities to do all around Rochester, and it just surprised me that it hadn't been implemented before. So I'm really glad that we're able to bring this to a wider audience and get a lot of attention on this. Um, so after we examined these things and went on our nature retreat, we went through and we had a list of different organizations and people to reach out to kind of get a little bit of feedback and start looking at how we can build this children's bill of rights, um, or children's outdoor bill of rights. And so we decided to make a survey and we got the input from those different organizations on that. And we really wanted to have a survey because, like we stated before, this is the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. We all want to have input from these different youth and from the people in our community that are going to be impacted by this. So, yeah.
So that process took a little bit and a lot of revision and feedback. So it was mostly created. Most of the legwork was done with the YVOV, and then Virginia and I looked at it and gave some edits and suggestions. And then bringing us to now, we've started. We created a survey. We sent out that survey, and we've gotten some feedback from it. So that's where we are right now, and then developing activities will come afterwards. So we can go over what our survey found, and then Virginia, do you want to talk a little bit about where we're hoping this goes?
Yeah, so this list shows some of our top responses so far with our survey. I think like harvesting food was actually higher than where it is now. So basically like growing food, exploring nature, hiking, those things seem to be really important to people like at this moment. We've actually been in the process of helping gardens around the city with harvesting their plants. And we've also had a chance to meet the community members that have been involved in those gardens. So I think it's a really great experience to just like be connected with everyone.
So this is Sarah Scott. Just to build on what the youth were saying, so the surveys were put out through lots of different networks, and the youth on this call had a large role in finding who we should be reaching out into the community. These are the top 12 choices so far from that survey, as far as what youth in the community of all ages would like to see as part of the Outdoor Bill of Rights. And prior to this call, we were all on another Zoom just kind of talking about if any of these surprised us or what we thought about these, any familiarity we had. So does anyone from YVOV or the urban ecologist want to just kind of reflect on these rights or your experience with them?
I can. So the one that struck me the most and surprised me was play in the snow, because it seems kind of like, well, there's snow everywhere. Like everyone has access to snow. But then, as Sarah stated, we were in the call before. In the call, I kind of had a chance to self-reflect on like how privileged I am, in the sense that I actually have a backyard that has clean adjacent snow. So we're able to just go jump in the snow or make a snowman in the backyard, whereas there may be people that don't have a backyard and either it's in the snow in the front or the snow is disgusting. So that kind of surprised me the most. Yeah.
Yeah, a thing that surprised me was the growing and harvesting foods to eat. I never really thought about that. Like that was never a thing that I'd ever felt like the need or want to do. But like Asada, when you really think about a lot of these things that like I was surprised on, um, like you start to realize things and look from their perspective why they might want those things. And I was thinking like, everybody's in the city, they never really have this opportunity. So a lot of people are very curious about things, they never tried before. And who really gets the opportunity to be able to grow and harvest their own food when you're living in the city? There's not a lot of space. And, like Asada said, if you don't have a backyard, um, a lot of people live in apartment buildings and things like that where they don't have that opportunity to do these things.
Through the work with urban ecology, we've had actually a lot of opportunities to harvest and grow food. And for me, it's a very grounding experience of being able to watch something grow and then harvest it and cook with it and eat it. And it also makes you feel proud, like that you were able to grow something. And so I think that that is an experience that everyone should have. And that one of my favorite questions that I'm really glad it made this top 12 list is observing a starry sky. And just because for me, it's a really humbling experience, and it makes you feel like there's so much out there in the world and so many opportunities. And so I think that that feeling is really important. And so I'm just glad that that made the top 12 because I think it's important. And it always makes me sad when I go outside at night and I can't see the stars from where I live. So
I just want to add on to what Maya said about seeing starry skies. I go to a public school in the suburbs, and like the stars are like really bright there compared to the city. Um, and when one of my friends came over to sleep over once, she was surprised that she couldn't really see the stars. And that was partly due to the lights, the amount of lights that we have here in the city. So it's just something to think about.
All right. Thank you all so much. Sarah, if you want to stop sharing your screen for a moment, I want to give um, council members an opportunity to ask questions, but also just to say that the work of this Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights is something that will be presented to you, council, and the youth wanted to make sure that we were able to get this to you because their hopes are that if you consider that legislation and you approve that legislation, that will be something that can coincide with Earth Day. So they were hoping to time that and have this presentation to you. They've worked very hard over the past year through the pandemic, continuing to work on putting this together and doing their research on other cities across the country that have passed Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. And the reason why they have done these is because and make it policy is because they really want to, solidify and anchor in a community's commitment to making sure that youth can have these experiences and that there are resources and opportunities dedicated to this. So that is why many cities have adopted a Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights as a policy. And the youth really wanted to not only have that happen in Rochester, but they wanted to have it reflect what Rochester youth and community members wanted it to say. So, thank you to the youth, but I want to give an opportunity for them to answer any questions or have any further dialogue with you on the Bill of Rights.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Evans.
First off, I just say I definitely support this outdoor Bill of Rights, and I got a special place in my heart for Youth Voice One Vision. I appreciate the work that you guys have done. definitely support it. So my question is one of the things on the item was the camping. What opportunities have the young people on the call had in terms of going out camping? Are you guys engaging with the scouts or other organizations to kind of make that a reality? I'm happy to see that on there. In an urban environment, it's not like that's something we talk about regularly. So are there opportunities that we're making available for young people in the city to take advantage of having the opportunity to camp?
Well, we're certainly, I'll let the youth answer about their experiences, but to your second question, we're certainly hoping to. And that's one of the reasons why it's here, is because you're right. There are some lacking opportunities there's some lacking opportunities, and we know some of the youth can tell you about their experiences, but we're hoping that this sparks and for us to be able to add that.
So to answer your question, we've actually been looking. There are like a few groups out in the Adirondacks, but some of them were put on hold due to COVID. I think some might be starting again this summer, but I think they're really great opportunities. You get to like go out for a week and just learn about the outdoors.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the next step of this Outdoor Bill of Rights, is the implementation of it. And how do we make sure that it's one thing to say that every child has a right to this. It's another thing to put structures and implement things to make sure that that's a reality. So I think there are a lot of, at my school, we have an outdoor club. And so we take a trip up to Algonquin Park and we get that opportunity to have trips to the Adirondack. So I think there are things in place, but that's the next step of this, is to push for that implementation and brainstorm around how do we make these rights come true, and how do we make sure that it's available to every child.
Great.
I do have something to add as well. Well, first, to answer the first part of the question, the whole first half of my life, I was exposed to going to camps and experiencing nature. As soon as that was halted, probably 2 years into me not experiencing that, I was scared of frogs. I was scared of caterpillars. It's like very dramatic when it comes to nature, when this was a large part of my life. So that 2-year little gap took such a toll on me that now I can't even hold a frog anymore, because I've just been so conditioned to watch frogs on YouTube and like that type of stuff. Second part of your question, I think that a part of implementing this into the culture of the city is also not only just like giving youth the option, but promoting more outreach, because I've had a lot of these opportunities just because my mom is very connected, and because she made that a priority. But if we're seeing posters about Celino and Barnes and William Mattar instead of Camp blah 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 and Camp blah blah blah, like kids can't run back to their parents like, oh, I saw a poster for this, it's free, I want to go. So outreach may be a large portion of that we've been lacking in, unfortunately. And I do know, as far as city programming, the outreach has gotten very, very high up there. Also being more involved in social media, I've seen how it's shared more widely, but I know some of the camps that I participated in, they're not shared so much. And a lot of camps that I was going to were free. So outreach and stuff like that is a big portion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Councilmember Gruber.
Thank you, President Scott. And let me, first of all, thank all of you for the presentation. Some of you may remember I went on a hike with urban ecologists just before the pandemic struck. It must have been, yeah, Maya, I remember you there. It must have been February. And it was a real treat. It was led by Chris Widmeyer. It was a real treat to be given a tour of a park. It was over at Cobb's Hill by the Tay House was where we met. It was amazing to get a tour of our city's parks from the youth who've been learning about ecology, because that was certainly not my specialty in school. So I appreciate all that you do, and this is a very exciting piece of legislation. I think Councilmember Evans' question was the appropriate one. It's one thing to develop a Bill of Rights. It's another thing to be able to ensure that everyone has those opportunities. And I know that a separate initiative from the city was, and Commissioner Lemon-Torres, correct me if I'm wrong here, something around everyone being within 15 minutes of a park. Maybe it was 10 minutes of a
10
park.
minutes. 10
And
minutes.
so I'm wondering if we can get an update on where we are with that initiative and what the tie-in may be.
Absolutely. So this is connected to that. That part of the 10-minute walk challenge that we took, one of the pieces to that, we identified 5 different parks that really needed some work to remove barriers. One of those being Don Samuel Torres Park, and we've done a lot there. We will have a ribbon cutting soon, and if you haven't driven by there, you should, because that park has been transformed based on the 10-minute walk feedback. So that's just one of the 5 locations that was identified, but we've been working through all of those and reducing some of the barriers around, getting across the street. So we've done things like put paint down to try to do some traffic calming on the crosswalks to some of the parks that were, identified in the 10-minute walk as being a barrier. People thinking it wasn't as safe to walk to. And so we've done a lot of those types of things, but this is a key piece of that, because I think that, as you've said it, and the youth have said it too, if we don't make this a priority, not just by policy, but by action, some of the things that we identified in the 10-minute walk, aren't going to come to fruition, because we can remove the barriers of what, not having the parks, as friendly or clean, or not having them as safe to get to. But once we do all of that, what are we going to do to activate and ensure that these things remain a priority? So the projects are connected. We've received some funding that connects the two to help us plan with the community, but we have to do the work. And this team here that created this project, they don't disband. They're hoping that once you approve this legislation, that they can move forward with the implementation plan. And that's something that they can continuously update you on as well.
Thanks. Would it be possible when this legislation comes before us, would it be possible to get, I'm not asking to create a whole bunch of work, but just a sense of what the 10-minute walk to park challenge has produced in terms of the activation of those 5 parks, and maybe what the gaps still are in our community? I think that would be a really helpful thing, because as you develop an implementation plan, certainly I think it's safe to say that there's going to be some neighborhoods where it's easier to guarantee this Bill of Rights will come true, and other neighborhoods where it won't. And I think we all agree, everyone on this call, and hopefully people watching on YouTube as well, that we want to make sure everyone, regardless of where they live, has access to this stuff. So if we can work on that together, that'd be a great thing.
We will do that.
Thank you.
If I could just add a quick note to that point, to just emphasize what the commissioner was saying. We also have been in conversation with the Seneca Park Zoo Society, the Public Library, DRISE, Monroe County Youth Bureau, to talk about how, if the COBOR comes to fruition, how we can continue to use that as a framework for guiding. There's 12 principles that we've identified, and how that could structure a year's worth of programming and activation at both city and county parks, with an emphasis on obviously youth employment and youth engagement in that process through the urban ecologist and through our youth employment program here within DRISE.
Commissioner, do you know if Vice President Lightfoot is up to speed on this? He's our representative on the Rochester Monroe County Youth Board. And they are connected to all of the entities throughout the county. I'm not sure what work they're doing now. They used to do trying to develop sort of like a youth development master plan. I'm not sure what you're doing now, but they certainly have the mechanism to fold something like the COBRA into the work that's being done and to bring that up to a level that it can be recognized and implemented countywide. So if he's not, we need to make sure that he gets that information.
Well, I will absolutely ask him to take it there. In fact, Vice President Lightfoot has asked me to sponsor this legislation when we discussed it. So he's very much in support, and I think that this is something that I will ask him to lift up in his other role on that board, so that we can really connect the two efforts.
Great, wonderful, wonderful. We did not do introductions, and I apologize for that. We're so used to meeting with each other and our City Hall team and folk like that. I'm Loretta Scott, City Council President, and if my colleagues would introduce themselves as well, please. Councilmember Gruber.
Sure. My name is Councilmember Mitch Gruber. I'm an at-large council member, and I live over in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood.
Councilmember Evans, do we need some disclosure with you?
Yeah, Councilmember Malik Evans here, at-large member.
Asada looks very familiar to me, and I'm not sure why, but okay.
Yeah.
Who else do we have?
Councilmember Lachey Harris. I'm from the South District. The Southwest area is where I live.
Okay. I believe that our other members.
I'm here, Council President.
Excellent, excellent. Councilmember Mendez.
Yeah, so Councilmember Melendez, I'm a council member at large, and I live right across from Seneca Park. So I heard that earlier. So I'm excited about this work.
Said Melendez.
Madam President, I do have a question too.
Go ahead, please.
Good, thank you. So Tremaine, first I want to say I'm feeling that flag behind you. I have to get that in here. But also, I've done a lot of work in the community around access to play, access to nature. I serve on a board, the Genesee Land Trust Board. And I participated in the 10-minute walk to park efforts as well. I guess from the young folks on the call, when you think about where you live in your neighborhood, do you feel you have enough amenities? Do you have enough access right now? Or what are some of the barriers you see presently in your neighborhood?
Oh, you can go first.
Okay. So I'm Patrick, and my neighborhood is the Highland Park neighborhood. And I definitely feel personally that yes, we do have a lot of access to nature. I can walk like 3 minutes up the hill, and I'm at the Highland Park. So, and their like Lilac Festival is held nearby. So I definitely feel I have a lot of access to nature and stuff like that. But why I feel it's so important and why I wanted to be on this initiative so badly was that, whenever I go to my friend's house and things like that, they have absolutely no access to any type of like place near them where they can do these types of things. So like seeing where I live versus where they live and seeing the disparity between that definitely made me like really actively want to join this and be a part of kind of making that change and kind of leveling out that disparity.
I live in the 19th ward, and I think that in certain areas there are certainly opportunities of play. We have like little parks here and there. Nothing within a safe walking distance for me or my younger sibling. Well, I'm older now, so like I'm able to walk. But when I was younger, it wasn't so much of a safe experience for us to walk to our nearest park. But I say it's a very family oriented community, and so there's like festivals and stuff like that. Not necessarily festivals, but little like community gatherings and whatnot. but yeah, like Patrick said, being a part of this initiative and this process is very personal to me as well. Um, uh, very personal. Just my mom works with Common Ground Health, so for 4 years, I've been like witnessing like what they do, and being having giving youth the opportunity to be in these positions of playing in nature, stuff like that, has had a tremendous impact on the happiness of kids. And sorry, not trying to drag it, but also virtual learning right now, with people doing all of their work online, there's not so much access, well, there's basically zero access to the physical education portion of school. So if youth, it's becoming springtime now, about to go into summer, if youth had these opportunities or had more access to the opportunities, because there are opportunities in the city, if they have more access, then this could become something great for youth that didn't even know that they could progress in nature.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris, introduce yourself, did you?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any comments or questions?
Well, I'm just amazed. Very happy to hear about the access to nature progressions that's going on. I live close to the Genesee Valley Park, and I also live very close to Aberdeen Square Park, and we have access to the canal. So I'm in like right in that area where you have access to all of those. What I'd like to see is, more of other parts of the city that have, those type of same amenities spring up, or at least give people the information about how they can access our parks a little bit more. So that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and I'm excited, and thank you.
Yeah. I really like the focus on growing your food. I love gardening. I'm not the greatest at it, but it is so rewarding. And I think the young people get a kick out of it as well, especially at different points in their academic journey. I remember my grandson was collecting, he wasn't collecting frogs, but it was grasshoppers and all kinds of things, because that's what they were studying in one of his science classes. So he very much enjoyed that. I think we've done all the introductions, and I don't know if there are any additional questions. Unless there are, Commissioner Lamont-Torres, you're expecting to present this for action by the council when?
In this next cycle, so for April.
Okay. And it's to be presented as what kind of document? What is the action that's being requested?
The action is for the formal adoption of the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights as proposed by this group. So at the conclusion of their survey, they compiled a proposed slate of outdoor Bill of Rights for you to formally, with the hope that you will formally adopt them as the city's Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights.
Okay.
President Scott, can I say one other thing?
Sure.
I'm actually going to put, I don't know if everyone has access to the chat, but I'm going to put something in the chat and hope that they do. This is an article that was about, maybe some of you have seen it, but just in the last couple of months, the city of Atlanta put a huge, what they're calling a free food forest. It's essentially a spot for foraging and being able to grow a whole bunch of different things. And maybe people aren't used to eating. I remember when for those of you who don't know me, my day job is at Food Link. So I spend a lot of time thinking about food and thinking about growing food. And I remember when I first started at Food Link, I had never heard of eating dandelions before. But dandelion greens are something that a lot of people eat, and I really like them now. So that's an example of something that, what you'd find in a foraging forest. And Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, sponsored this huge forest in conjunction with, I think they got a grant from the Park Service, federal grant. So Commissioner Lyman Torres, I'd love to find a way to be able to work on something like this as well in partnership. I think what we all know about our city is that we have a ton of vacant space, too many vacant spaces. And I think the other fact we know about gardening is that the idea of raised bed gardens are great, but they're also incredibly tedious. They take a lot of time and energy, commitment, and money. And not every community has all those things, but there are ways to grow food and there are ways to beautify neighborhoods without having to force, individuals to put a lot of hours into it. And this is an example in Atlanta. And I will tell you that I've wanted to do something like this for a long time. I feel more confident we'll get it done because we have folks from YVOV and the urban ecologists who are interested in hopefully making it happen. So you have a partner in me if you want to work on it together.
Outstanding. I love that idea.
I'd like to thank you, President Scott, and members of the council for not only allowing us to present this to you, but for in advance for your consideration and allowing us to join not only other cities, but in highlighting what we need to do for our city to make sure that when people who are not in leadership, who may not have the same emphasis and love of nature that you all do, that still stays a priority for our children. So we'd like to thank you.
I certainly hope, and I know that not everything costs money, but most things do. So, I hope that somewhere in your budget, there'd be some indication that you have a desire to do something that connects and supports this effort. Sometimes it's just enough to stick something in a budget document, whether it's as an increment or something like that, just to keep it on the table, because it's amazing how when you put it down, when you write it down, when you attach something to it, sometimes it just has a way of being able to happen. And I'm always fond of saying, without vision, people perish. And part of the vision is laying it out there, right? With the aspirations with the dollar signs on it. So I hope to see something like that.
Absolutely. And we really hope to come back in a future session where we can share the youth and the community's dream and design for an urban nature center at Maplewood Park.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for your time and your great work.